everyone, it's Sally with the Polka Dot Life. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Huntsville, Alabama. We are also known as the Rocket City. Huntsville is home to Marshall Space Flight Center, the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, and Space Camp. Things here are always lively and life is lived on the cutting edge of technology. When I saw the Stellar birthday set in the annual catalog, I knew that I had to get it. It is a collection of whimsical astronaut children, their dog, and just some great sentiments that go along with it. At first, you might feel that this is a stamp set only for children's cards, but I'm going to show you today that that isn't the case. Make sure you stay until the end of the video to see my other examples. Let's put the camera down and get started. Today we are going to be working with the Stellar Birthday stamp set, and that can be found on page 57 of your annual catalog. You can start there by getting some ideas of how you might want to color your images, but you certainly can color them with any of our coloring tools, any methods that you like. There is this spinner card, this spinner feature die, I should say, that a lot of people use with this set because it's shown with it in a catalog. I'm not doing that today, but I just wanted to let you know that that is an option. The Stellar Birthday set is a cling stamp set. Let me just show you real quickly. That is because it's a red rubber stamp. We have red rubber stamps that are called cling stamps because they cling to the block. Or we have clear ones that you can see through, and we call those photopolymer stamps. We are going to be using some of these images, most of them actually, today. And so the key to that, I am going to be using my Stampin' Blends markers, the alcohol markers. And so that tells me that I need to use a water-based ink. Opposite. I'm using alcohol markers, I need to use a water-based ink. And so this is the best one that we have for that. I also like to use our thick basic white cardstock for coloring with my blends. And I think that one of the keys to being really happy with your project is to stamp these first and then set them aside to dry for a good little while. I have already colored in my images for today's card to save some time, but we'll do one together. And we're just going to put this piece of paper aside and let it dry for a little while. But while I have that black ink pad out, I am going to go ahead and stamp our greeting that I have on this Stamparatus. It's one of those really long, and if you're doing it on a skinny strip, it's actually easier than doing it on a large piece. It's just easier to keep it straight and lined up this way. And since it's a nice bold font, you just really want to make sure that that stamps nicely. Super fun. We do have some more fun stamping to do, and that is with our Night of Navy cardstock. We are going to use the stars, and we are going to break out our Whisper White pigment ink. It's called Craft Ink, and it's just a nice thick, like a chalk white. And we are simply going to make our own designer series paper. And we're just going to make random patterns all across this paper. You can follow whatever pattern or method works for you. And if you get a few that don't stamp exactly right, it's not going to matter. Several areas are going to be covered up. And also, it's just when they're this busy, your eye just kind of finishes it off. And so you just kind of do what makes you happy. You can put them close together. You can put them a little further apart. I kind of always like some going off of the edge. And then we have this 4 by 5 1/4 piece also. And you can turn your paper, you can turn your stamp. There is no right or wrong. It is just kind of a good mindless therapy, to be really honest with you. Don't overthink it. Just go for it and have fun. Like I say, it is all good. And most of this big piece is going to get covered up in the center. So we really kind of only need to do it, you know, along the border. You want to have enough that you know nothing's going to show through at a blank spot or something, but it's really all good. And I think that will do us just fine. I am going to pull in this piece of basic white again, just because we need a sentiment, and I like have a stellar birthday. I'm going to do it down at this end, and I'm going to do it just in a little bit because we are going to die cut this image out. I am just going to take my scissors and cut around this. Just cutting this part out so it can fit through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I will be back with that in just a minute. Okay, I have my Stampin' Blend markers, and this is how I did the rocket ship. I used Misty Moonlight Dark, and you want to be careful. I like to use my brush end for a lot of smaller items. You just want to be careful that you're not pushing down on it going this way. You kind of want to hold it to the side, and I know that's not always possible, but if you're just really gentle with it, it will be just fine. And we're going to just go around the outside. And you always want to remember, this is going to bleed a little bit. This particular marker is pretty juicy, so I am going to stay away from the sides, because normally I wouldn't probably do it this thick. It's just kind of the way it is till I back it off a little bit. And I am going to put down a layer of the dark here, but we'll be going back over that. Again, letting things dry is our friend between layers. So this dark, real red, cap was really tight. I am just going to go along, and it's like a little porthole, and I am just going to make that real red dark, and I'm going to go along the outsides of this stripe and on the wings. And this is pretty juicy too. So you need to just move your paper. You be the boss of your paper and move it to where you need it to be. And see how that's filling in? I'm not going out there to the edge, but that is filling that in. And I'm not doing any shading or blending for the gray parts. This is light smoky slate. And I will list the colors that I used on my objects, my little people and so on. And I experimented with both of the light and the dark Daffodil Delight. I do like the light better. But, you know, there's no right or wrong as to how you want to do this. Just go for it. I am just really lightly. This is where I find that if I don't let it dry or just whatever, it sometimes tends to bleed on me. So I just kind of go really super light in that area. And let's take the light real red. And you can really use either tip for this. Let's just try this other end. It's just a different nib on the end of the marker. And doing circles when you're blending usually produces the nicer result. And that's kind of hard to do with a brush tip. But it just really depends on the area that you are trying to reach into as well. And see, we're just going to bring that a little closer, and that red ran right out itself to the end there to finish that off. And then we have our light. I actually still do like to use this to get the color laid down. I think especially since I'm going around a circle. These are very, very forgiving, and you can put layer on layer of color with these and build your color. You can take color away. We have what we call a color lifter. I can show you that in a moment, but it's kind of like your magic eraser for these types of markers. And you can still kind of see that line, so that's why this, and you generally want to push it out, put that darker towards the out so it outlines that image or shading. But like I say, it just blends nicely. And if you don't like it after the first layer, go back and do another one. Your friend here is letting things dry in between layers. And this is light pumpkin pie. And we are just going to add some extra firepower to our rocket. So that is how that's done. There are no dies that coordinate, so you do need to fussy cut these images, but they really go really super quickly. Just like I say, I had the Smoky Slate Daffodil Delight. When it came to making my people, I used light Melon Mambo just to put one little dot on their cheeks and blend it in with their skin color. These are the colors that I kind of used today, and I might have brought in a little bit one of my darker ones and maybe a bronze on one of my cards. Mostly I did petal pink, but I made another on one of my other cards. Most of mine had Caucasian skin, but one I wanted to do a little bit darker, and so I used a different color, and I want to say it was the crumb cake and the ivory. I may have used just a tiny bit of bronze on her. I'm not really sure. There are so many charts for, just search Stampin' Up! Skin colors, and you'll find a chart with the blends that can show you how to get exactly the shade that you would want, because we want our space kids to look like the people that are going to receive it, or at least mix it up a little bit, because I think that's fun. And in prepping, I see that something has gotten just a little scudge or some smudge on my cardstock here. So I'm just going to put that to the inside and we will cover it up. There is always a way to fix things. So first up, let's build our card and use our tape runner. Yeah, it's way off on this one. And we're going to just simply kind of spin it around, see which way you like to be the top. And this is just going to be a pretty standard start to our card. And let's go ahead and layer this as well. Kind of have a little matching border situation. There we go. And I have a piece of cardstock that I've embossed, and this is our checks and dots folder, and it's just one of those small ones so it can go through the mini. And that's the checks from the checks and dots, obviously. So we have that. And then I want to bring in this trim. I did a different trim on my first version, and I kind of like to try something different here on this one. Let's just tie a little layer around right here. And I don't often tie on camera because I just don't love to. And we just have a little knot. And I think that will be cute. We'll cut it a little long so we can trim it once it's on our card. And it's nice that you can kind of keep this a little bit loose if you want to. And that way you'll kind of see, once you put these things together, how it's going to fall on your card. Okay, and I want to use some liquid glue actually on this, since it is embossed. Usually if you tap your bottle, when it's just about empty, you can get quite a bit more out of it, more than what you would expect. Learned that from another demonstrator. I thought that was a really great tip. And you can just eyeball this where you want to. I think I'll just do right about there. I'm going to bring in some dimensionals for this layer. And I just kind of want to look and see, double check. I don't really want dimensionals there in that center because it's already raised up with this and it would make it a little bit wonky. So let's grab take your pick tool and take these backings off. Oh, it's rolling around on me. And let's just go ahead and this actually may need to slide over a little bit. And no matter how it falls, it's still good. But that liquid glue is really sticking. And so it's just going to be a little bit different measurement, and that's fine. It can be to the side, it can be straight on. It really is however you would like it to be, or however your little mistake makes it be. So you may want to go ahead and slide yours over just a little bit further. Just want to make sure that that is pretty straight. Okay, super. I'm going to go ahead and trim those tails just so they kind of stay out of my way. Super, super cute. So here are the pieces that I have for today's card. My original card was a mail version, and I did send that one out already. And then I have this one. So I want to make sure that this is kind of down here. So I'm going to do that first. We'll see if a dimensional is too big. We may have to cut it or use a mini dimensional if you have one, but you just kind of want one so that it's not like super wobbly at the bottom of your card. We need to adhere the top of our card as well. And so we're just going to run a little tape runner, some liquid glue. I think my liquid glue finally gave it up. I need to open a new bottle. But I'm just going to kind of make sure that that script is straight and it's kind of up into the bottom corner of this card. And then we can just kind of lay our other pieces. Our other guy was kind of flying, but I like the dog in this orientation. She's just kind of maybe doing a spacewalk. He was a little more flight oriented. But let's go ahead, and you'll see I stamped something wrong and re-stamped it at the top. But you will see that with alcohol markers, that color bleeds through. So you need to be real careful about where you color so that it doesn't get on everything. All right, sorry, that was just hung up there for a moment. So let's just kind of put our little puppy dog, he's kind of floating his bone up into the sky, almost like he's fishing for bones, isn't it? I could see my cats doing that for a treat in space or anywhere. And then just put the little girl on. She's on her spacewalk. This is the die. It's from the Tasteful Label dies that I used to cut out my Stellar Happy Birthday. And I'm just going to kind of tack this inside down because I need to get my sand eraser from my other desk and kind of get that little splotch. It's kind of on the bottom and it's bothering me. So I may end up putting a Night of Navy layer in behind here or a real red layer, and I probably would like that better anyway. So I just thought that was a super, super fun card. I know a lot of kids have that type of party, so this will be a really popular style card. I have two others. Another one is using the children more. I made our little puppy dog taking a ride off on the rocket ship itself. And I have the little boy and the little girl. And this is a good representation of you are able to personalize or just make however you want. Skin colors, hair colors, you can change the uniform colors, however you would like to do it. I did emboss this with some clear embossing powder. You might be able to see a little bit of sheen to that. And I used this same trim from the Playful Pets trim combo pack. That's a mouthful. And then I just did that inside layer the same way. And that's a super fun card too. Now this next card is a very special card for one of my friends. Mr. Frank is a member of my church family, and he has worked in the space industry for decades. Mr. Frank is getting ready to retire, and he is in his 80s. Yes, that's correct. He is in his 80s and has still been going to work every day because he loves his job. And I love that so much about him. So this is a way that you can make this be an adult card, especially again, here in Huntsville, we have a lot of rocket scientists or people that are supporting that space industry. And this is a little sneak peek into some stars that are coming into the holiday catalog that you'll be able to get soon. But I just used the alphabet dies and pop those up there. I did this on a crumb cake card base, and this says there's no one like you in the whole universe. And that certainly is true for Mr. Frank. These are our cards for today. I hope that you enjoyed them, and I hope that you just don't automatically dismiss this set as only for children when you go through the catalog. And I want you to really pay mind about this star stamp. That is going to be something great to use and pull out with your other stamp sets when you do your Christmas cards. So just remember that you can always mix and match things from different sets. And this is a good basic shape to have in your craft room. As always, remember to be kind, send a card, and do something creative. Bye-bye.